Welcome to Sunday Expressions. Let's begin with a prayer, the Lord's Prayer. Անուն Հոր եւ Որդվո եւ Ոգուին Սրբո ամեն. Հայր մեր, որ հերգինս ես, Սուրբ Եղեցի անուն քո, Եղեցի արքայություն քո, Եղեցին գամ քո, որբես հերգինս է հերգրի։ Սաց մեր հանաբազոր դուր մեզ այսօր եւ թող մեզ սպարդիս մեր, որբես եւ մեկ թողունք մերոց բարդաբանած։ Մի դաներս մեզի փորձություն, այլ փրկյազ մեզի չարե։ Զիքո արքայություն եւ զորություն եւ փառք Հավիդյանս Հավիդենից. Amen. Welcome to another Sunday Expression. We are following up on this beautiful season of Theophany. Let me greet you once again. Christos Zenav Yev Haidnetzav Tsezi Mezi Mez Avedis Ortnyale Haidnutunan Christosi. Christ is born and revealed. That is the beautiful gospel message of the day, the good news that comes to all of us. So today we have a few things that we're going to be sharing with you. Not only the message of the day, we're going to be sharing the Sharakan as we always do, but let's start off with your messages to me. I want to thank you all for letting me know where you're listening from, who you're listening with, how this message is coming to you, because it's exciting time for us all as Sunday expression becomes more and more acceptable throughout the world. So today's message comes to us from Harant in Walnut Creek. Let's read. Thanks for Sunday Expressions. My wife and I watch it with our 2 children. We love the messages and they love the beautiful pictures and the church. They are young, but we want their ears to be filled up with the music and your words. Thank you. A few times you have played Sharakans from a seminary by Lake Sevan. Can you tell us more about it? I have been to Lake Sevan twice and have never seen a seminary there. I'm planning a trip next summer with our children, and Lake Sevan will definitely be on the schedule. Thank you again, Harant in Walnut Creek, California. Well, thank you, Harant. What a nice message that you had to share. And I'm very excited that you're watching with family and with your children, because that's what really Sunday Expression's about. It's a way of kickstarting your Sunday, or if you're in a different time zone, maybe coming together with your family and sharing in this message. So the seminary at Lake Sevan, that is such a great question. And by the way, you're not alone. People are wondering, where does this beautiful music come from? Well, you may know or you may not know that Sevan, what we know at Lake Sevan, the 2 big monasteries are there. That used to be an island. And that's really the miracle of that region, is that those churches were constructed on an island. Through the years, the water has receded, and now Sevan is a peninsula. In other words, it's connected to the mainland. So the road that leads to Lake Sevan, to that island that you see, that is the tourist attraction, is the road that you would take. And just as you go towards Lake Sevan, to your left, I believe it is, there's a small other road, and that's where the seminary is. Here are a few pictures from there. You can see that there's dormitories. There's a full campus over there, and it is dedicated to His Holiness Catholicos Vazken I of blessed memory, who was the patriarch from 1955 to 1994, one of the longest tenures of any Catholicos. It is dedicated, and it is called in his name the Vazkenian Seminary. What the recordings that we play over here comes from 2002, when a group of the seminarians got together and they recorded those Sharakans, those hymns. And yes, if you get out to Lake Sevan, it's a small little detour, worth seeing, but you do need to talk to somebody. It's not an open campus, so please make sure you go through the right channels. But that's the seminary, and I hope these few pictures help you kind of place where it is. Okay, well, before we get to the reading for today, let's listen to today's Sharakan. It is called Miain Der. This is sung during the Badarak, and what you're going to do, what I've put together today, is a little slideshow of the monastery at Geghart. And the reason for this is this is the Armenian Quartet that sings at the monastery. Now, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, it's an experience. It's nothing that will translate over this two-dimensional screen that you're watching on. But basically, Geghart, which means the spear that lanced the side of Christ while he was on the cross. The Armenians have that. And it was held at this monastery for many, many centuries. And the monastery gets its name from Geghart, from that spear. So the monastery at Geghart is just outside of Yerevan. I think it's maybe about a half an hour, 45-minute drive. And well, it depends how you drive, right? But it's right outside, and it's open to the public. You can come there. You're going to see some pictures. The beauty of this monastery is that it is carved out of a mountain. Yeah, not carved into the mountain. It's carved out of the mountain. And one day we were walking through, and there was this beautiful group of singers. That's what you're going to be hearing today. Now, I'll tell you a little bit more about it, but they're going to be singing one of the Sharakans from our divine liturgy. It's called Miain Der. Miain Surp, Miain Der, Jesus Christos. The only holy, the only Lord, Jesus Christ. Let's listen in. Miain Der is the name of that Sharakan, that hymn of the Armenian Church, and it is celebrated by the singers at Geghart, inside of that beautiful monastery. Now, I want to share with you that, these recordings are very special, but what we were able to do is we captured one of these recordings in 360. And this is available at epostle.net. When you go into the museum there, it's online, but if you have special 3D glasses, if you have an ability to get in there with different mediums, you can see this beautiful quartet singing with 360 spatial sound. You put on your headset, put on some headphones, and you are transported to Geghart, this monastery in the hills. And that's one of the exciting things that we've done at Apostle, is that we've created these monasteries, recreated them in virtual reality. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. If you get out there, it's at epostle.net. It's easy to remember. It's apostle with an E because it's an electronic medium. Now, that being said, what you watched was the singers singing inside of that cave and sharing their talents. But why would you do that? When you look at something like that, you look at that and you say, why would these people in the middle of nowhere just go out there and dig out this church inside of a mountain? Well, maybe the answer comes to us in today's reading. Let's listen as Deacon Christaphor reads the gospel message that is assigned to us on this Sunday.
Perceiving then that they were about to come and take him by force to make him king, Jesus withdrew again to the mountain by himself. When evening came, his disciples went down to the sea, got into a boat, and started across the sea to Capernaum. It was now dark, and Jesus had not come to them. The sea rose because a strong wind was blowing. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the sea and drawing near to the boat. They were frightened, but he said to them, "It is I, do not be afraid." Then they were glad to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat was at the land to which they were going.
Thank you. That is the reading of John chapter 6, a story where Jesus walks on water. Amazing, right? Well, it kind of goes in a sequence. Last week, the gospel reading was the story of Jesus changing the water into wine, these miracles that happen. And whenever we hear that story, there's always people who will chuckle, like, oh, he changed the water into wine. Those are kind of the chuckles that you have when you're like, I guess, 13 years old, maybe 16 years old, adolescent kind of humor. But at some point, it's not funny anymore. And I want to share with you this one passage that comes to us from St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians, chapter 13. Now, I know you've all heard the passage. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I'm a noisy gong. You've probably heard this at many weddings, anniversary parties. It's the portion about love. Love is patient. Love is kind. Well, unfortunately, people stop right after that, and they never read the next sentence, which says, "When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I gave up childish ways." That is exactly what I want to talk to you, and that's the theme of today when you hear this story about the Jesus walking on the water. A lot of times we approach our faith, we approach religion in a childish manner because that's how we've been brought up. You have the coloring books of God and we make these stories and we hear about these things. And so you start wondering, oh, did he really change the water into wine? Did he really walk on water, or were there some stones over there? Instead of having a more mature understanding that these are the stories of faith upon which faith is built. So let's do the opposite. Instead of doubting, let's believe it, right? Now think what happens all of a sudden. If you believe that Jesus walked on that water, he is the author of the water. He is the one who created the water. He is the one who is Lord over the water. Of course he walked on it. Now, once you take that mature attitude, what happens all of a sudden? Now you start focusing in, not on, are there stones? How did he change water to wine? No, you start thinking about the things that really do matter, the things that he said. Love your enemies. Love one another. Care for one another. Feed the hungry. Take care of the homeless. Look for justice. These are the things that matter. This is the maturity of faith. A lot of times we get consumed by the small things. Did he make wine? Oh, that's a funny joke or something. There's nothing funny about it. He made the greatest. He gave us the best. Did he really walk on water? He is the master of the water. And therefore, he's the master of life. And he's telling us a message that we need to listen. Forgive one another. Love one another. Care for one another. Do unto others the way you want them to do to you. These are the rules of life that we have called golden rules. Why? Because it is the most precious thing that God gives us. Our ability to communicate, our ability to have relationships with one another, to share with brothers and sisters that are in the world with us today. A lot of times when you look at social media, a lot of people are tempted. They'll look at the title. I know you've done this, I've done this. You look at the title and it captures you and it goes, oh, wow, that's sensational. Many times we do that with our faith too. We look at the sensational and then we go, oh, wait, what's really being said? take a moment to read what is really being said, beyond the titles, beyond the captions. Jesus is telling us something very important. I am the Lord. I am in charge. And I am telling you that your only hope in this life is to reach out to one another. That it's only the giving that makes you what you are. So become the best you can be by giving, by sharing, by loving. That's the message that comes to us. We'll call it a maturity of faith, and I wish that maturity of faith in all of us. Well, God bless you, and thank you again for joining us for this Sunday Expressions. You can meet us throughout the week. We are at epostle.net, where you'll see all kinds of stuff that'll help you in your spiritual journey. Also, remember that this is a ministry of the Western Diocese of the Armenian Church of North America. And make sure you visit our website, our social media pages. You'll see all kinds of great things that bring you to a higher and more mature understanding of faith. So until next week, God bless you, and I look forward to having another Sunday Expression with you then.